Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Pacifica deck profile for standard format, February 2020. This is the first of the new 3 decks for the deck profiles I'll be doing for the Crystal Melody booster pack. I know a big focus was the fact that you could build a Pacifica, Riviere, and Coral deck out of the new set using support for the 3 main Vanguard rare units in the set. It's a really interesting deck. The focus on the Pacifica deck is to have a bunch of different Pacificas out on the field to have additional effects. We only have one type of Pacifica so far for standard format, but I really do like the support they gave us for the deck as a whole because they provided, grade 1, 2, and also backup grade 3 support for the Pacifica decks. You could focus on just a deck with that support and some other generic support and not have to use a good amount of or any of the Melody support that has been provided for the previous set along with the Crystal Melody set for standard format. So like I said, really happy with the results of the deck profiles. Let's go ahead and get started. So for the grade 3 units in the deck, I am running 4 Top Idol Pacifica, the original grade 3 unit for Pacifica. Once per turn on Vanguard effect, use Soul Blast 1 and activate all the effects below according to the number of rear guards with Pacifica in their card names. If you have 1 or more, this unit gets plus 10,000, drive plus 1 until end of turn. If you have 2 or more, you get 2 Imaginary Gift Force. And if you have 3 or more, until end of turn, your opponent would call cards from his or her hand to the guard circle. He or she must make all 3 or more at the same time. So it really takes up the guard resources of your opponent, but also being able to have the plus power and drive plus 1 with the Pacifica on your Vanguard gives additional support for that. And then with 2 or more, you get 2 Imaginary Gift Force. That's just, all the more stronger for your rear guard powers also. And then the 3 or more, the guard restriction definitely does come in handy. I'd say it's one of the more difficult ones because you have to have all 3 of the Pacifica rear guards. So that means basically having your entire grade 3 lineup for the deck. But just being able to do that for a Soul Blast, activate those effects, and just being a once per turn means you don't have to ride another Pacifica. You just have to have the other ones on the rear guard to have consistent use, which your opponent will try to defeat those units as well, as long as you have that setup and then just more and more pressure each turn. Even for just the one Pacifica, having the plus 10 and the drive plus 1 definitely does come in handy overall for the deck. So running for this as the main grade 3, obviously for the Pacifica deck, definitely does come up for a lot of pressure. Just having the Imaginary Gift Force as well, being able to put 2 more on your other rear guards, depending on which force marker you want to go for. If you have enough pressure, you can go for the Force 2 with the additional criticals, and then making your opponent waste their guard resources. Having the other Pacifica units definitely does make for a big pressure play in the deck. And then for the backup grade 3, I am running 4 Refined Poiser Urzela. With this one on Vanguard or rear, when placed, counterblast 1, search for up to 1 Top Idol Pacifica from your deck and drop zone, reveal it, put it into your hand. And if you search your deck, shuffle your deck. This is just an easy search on Vanguard or rear for Top Idol Pacifica. It even has the Imaginary Gift Force marker, so if you ride it on your Vanguard circle, you get the Imaginary Gift Force, and then just more setup for Pacifica on the next turn. It also says drop zone, so if you end up, having it in your damage and you heal it, and it ends up in the drop zone, all the more better to add back. So you're guaranteed to have great setup for the Pacifica units on the field. Just having this backup grade 3 as that option. It's just meant for the search power, and it really does help with that setup, being the fact that it can be on Vanguard or rear, and the fact that it's not just the deck as well. So if you open up all the Pacificas, you achieve the goal right then and there, and then just having the option for the drop zone gives it so you'll always have those numbers at least set up when it comes time to ride Top Idol Pacifica. And that's it for the grade 3s. Like I said, we're just focused on the main Pacifica play for all the grade 3 setup. For the grade 2 support, I am running 4 Crowning Partner Aban. With this one on Vanguard or rear, when placed, put up to 1 face up Top Idol Pacifica, each from your drop zone and damage zone into your hand. If you put from the damage zone, put the top card of your deck into your damage zone. And this ability can only be used by a card with the same name once a turn. It's more and more setup. I mean, it's just another option for the damage zone Pacificas you could potentially get, because having to rely on a heal trigger isn't as good consistent-wise, for the fact that you will obviously need that heal trigger for the drive check or the damage check. Just having a bond for that setup gives you more and more resources to use, and the fact you put up to 1 face-up top out of Pacifica from each your drop zone and your damage zone into your hand gives you 2 right then and there, and this can be even before your ride phase into top out of Pacifica, giving you more of that setup. So if you comes down to it, Urzela can be the backup rear guard support if it's in your hand, because then you'll be able to add 2 top idle Pacificas from your drop zone and damage zone into your hand, and then use those cards as well. So very, very strong. Definitely need 4 of this grade 2. Just a great ride target to rely on for that consistency, or even on rear guard circle. But I'd say most of the time it is my go-to ride target for the deck. And also, I am running 4 Flustered Idle Freda. With this one, when placed, discard a card from your hand, draw a card, and Counterblast 1, and return a top idle Pacifica from your drop zone to your hand. More recycle power. This one's just with the drop zone, but it still gives you a draw card power when placed. It only works on the rear guard circle, so remember that. But still, really, really great. I think that it has a 10k power base, along with Crowning Partner, Abon, having a 10k power as well, just for the overall force power of the deck, and being able to rely on Pacifica, which, like I said before, comes down to being your main play in the deck always, and just having more and more cards. So just when you're going for the grade 2 lineup, at least having one or the other, and then even if you have 2 Flustered Idle Freda, if you have to ride 1 on your Vanguard circle, you do miss the effect since it's a rear guard only effect, but if you have another one, you can at least call it there. Hopefully have the Counterblast to use as well with the damage you took, and then be able to recycle any potential Pacifica that would be in the drop zone. Most of the time with the early game setup, it's not as consistent because there's usually nothing in your drop zone by the grade 2 ride, but this card definitely does come in handy late game also, just when your opponent tries to retire or attack into the Pacifica unit. So I definitely like running 4 of this card also. And I also run 2 Charging Ache Metra. With this one, I like it because it builds up Soul. With the Pacifica effect, it only is a Soul Blast. Pacifica doesn't rely on any counter blasts, so being able to build up your Soul with Charging Ache Metra. At the end of the battle, it attacked, Counterblast 1, put this unit into your Soul, draw a card, and one of your units gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. Just the plus 5 power can help if your opponent gets a trigger power as well. And then being able to rely on the draw power, but I really do like just the Into the Soul effect of this card, because then it gives you the soul buildup, because you don't want to ride multiple Pacifica units. You can do that, but then soul blast them with its own effect, but then you're missing out on the full potential of having 3 Pacificas on the field already when you have to do that. But just relying on Charging Ache Metra, who can do that, because you really only need the 1 ride of Pacifica, because then you just get more and more force markers when you use this skill and have all the other ones on the field. A faster way to get force markers at that as well. And then lastly, for the grade 2 count, I run 1 Pearl Sisters Perla. It means also I'm running the 1 Pearl Sister Perle for the grade 1 lineup. This is just another, I would say, added backup option if you just can't get to your Pacificas fast enough. Being able to rely on Perla and Perle definitely does come in handy for the overall pressure you can do when both are on the field. If you're not a fan of Pearl Sister Perla, you can obviously just put in a 3rd Metra for the grade 2 lineup for the more soul power. But this one doesn't take any Soul Blast, any Counter Blast, just having Pearl Sister Perle on the field as well for the boosted up power, strength, and critical with this card. And that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. I run 4 Topping Mascot Surlo. With this one, on Vanguard or rear, when placed, Counterblast 1, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 top Idle Pacifica and a Refined Poison Urzela, each from among them, and put them into your hand. And then shuffle your deck. If you and your opponent Vanguard are grade 1, you may Soul Blast 1 for this cost. So just an easier way for this card, especially if your opponent went first and, obviously you don't have any damage to use for the Counterblast. It's just another great ride target, because then you can Soul Blast the grade 0 after you use this effect for the search, and being able to search Urzela and Pacifica just makes it more and more consistent for the grade 3 add to your hand. Just for the top 7, because running the 8, if you don't open up the card, this card definitely does help for it, but if you already opened up one of the grade 3, you just have more and more search power with this one alone. And I also run 4 Silent Adore Solda. Just another 8k good backup ride target, but also all your rear guards with the same card name as your Vanguard get boost and cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. So if you don't want to put your Pacificas in the front line for being retired, they just have to be on the field. So with Solda on the field, you can put them in the back to boost, but you'll still have the same number of Pacificas to get with the main Vanguard effect you use with this card. So remember that also, with Solda being very, very strong for that setup. That's why I like to run for that option also. And I also run, I have 3 Lavender Missy Lapri, or Lapro, I believe it's called, on rear guard. At the end of battle, it boosted a rear guard, counter +1, return this unit to your hand. Look at 7 cards on the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 top idle Pacifica from among them, put into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Just consistent boost power. I would say, in the end, I really do like Surlo the best for the search power this card has. Also on Vanguard Circle, Lapro, just being able to return to your hand to reuse comes in handy, but I just wanted to try 3 out for that number in the deck. And I also run 1 Pearl Sisters Perle, just the same effect as Perla, just being a grade 1 and being the 18,000 power boost with this card for the critical as well. And I run the 2 Prominent Personality Terminer. Just, it doesn't happen as often, but the biggest fear I could say would be either a grade 1 or 2 G assist, but then you don't want to give up resources for the grade 3s, so Terminer comes in help with that play also. If you didn't want to run Perla along with the Perle play, you can put in a 4th copy of Lapri in the deck for that number, but I do like the 2 Terminer just as an option for the deck for when G assisting comes up and you want to remain consistent with your grade 3 numbers. And that's it for the grade 1s. We'll now move on to the grade 0s. For your starter, just going with the Pure Glitter Elish, just being the generic one. I didn't want to run the Coral or the Riviere one. That's the starter more for those decks. So just decided to stick with the generic original one we had. And then for the trigger lineup, I'm going for the 8 criticals. So 4 Direct Sign Persh and 4 Docking Shooter Pelia for the critical lineup. And then for the Sentinel, I run the 4 Glimmery Baby Len. If you don't have the draw trigger Sentinel, you can try taking out the 2 Terminer, the Perle, and then also maybe 1 additional Solda for the grade 1 Sentinel, and then just run the generic one for the draw trigger. And lastly, the 4 heal trigger, the Handmaid Lover Elena, to finish off the deck for the trigger count. But that is it for the deck profile. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Definitely a fun deck to try out. We still have the Coral and Riviere deck profiles to look forward to until you pick Bermuda Triangle deck from the new Crystal Melody that you'd like to try. But until then, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.